What family secret was finally spilled in your family?
I only just recently heard about this. But my grandmother had gotten a little drunk with my dad and brother a month or so ago. And started talking about our great uncle Ferber, but from what I heard he apparently killed quite a few people. And buried them on some family-owned land in a swamp.
My cousin is actually my sister. Apparently my mom got pregnant really young and her much older sister adopted my sister and raised her as her own. It was actually an amazing moment when we found out. My cousin/sister and the sister I was raised with and I are really close. Just happened last year. We're all old now. I'm 50 and my cousin/sister is 58, so it's just a really neat thing that makes us all happy.
My father's brother killed 4 girls when he was in high school. My father was the one who found out and told the police.
A buddy of mine met a girl at a bar. They totally hit it off. He told his parents about her. And his dad took him outside and told him not to date her. Because she was his half-sister.
I was the secret. I was adopted, always knew and was fine with it. Did an ancestry test this year and got matched with some second cousins and an uncle. Turns out my biological dad had severe schizophrenia. Was in a home his whole life and died 3 years ago. And somehow no one knew I existed besides my biological grandparents on my paternal side who died a few years ago.
My uncle set one of his restaurants on fire. For insurance purposes.
Found out my uncle is actually my brother. My mom had him when she was so young that my grandparents raised him.
My sister cheated on her husband throughout her entire marriage. To the point that all 3 of her kids have different biological fathers.
When my mother fell ill and I took over her finances, I found thousands of pounds of gambling debt on her credit cards. Then I found adoption papers for a child she'd had before me. That she'd never mentioned. Then another family member told me my dad didn't die in a car crash but committed suicide in prison.
We found out after my grandfather died that none of his 7 children with my grandmother were his. And that they all likely had different fathers.
My aunt had been poisoning my grandma. Just so that she can pay back $60,000 owed to the IRS. How she got into that debt is beyond me. But my aunt forced my grandmother to swallow large pills that were over her recommended dosage. My grandmother passed away.
This is years ago, and I only got a few rough details. But my baby mama's dad wound up getting caught in a sting. Trying to purchase a teenage girl. He had a separate apartment all set up, transferred the funds, and when he went to the delivery meet, he was arrested by the feds.
About a month ago, my mother-in-law's 88-year-old sister revealed on her deathbed that her husband's best friend was actually the father of all 4 of her children. Her husband was an abusive, grade-A jerk, by all accounts. While everyone was shocked, no one was saddened by this news.
My sister forged my mother's signature on her will and signed the house over to herself. I don't have full proof yet, but I just found out Sunday at my mom's celebration.
My grandmother had an affair with the gynecologist who delivered my dad. We found some of the letters they exchanged years after she died. The best part is his name was Dr. Tactile.
I always had an Aunt Candy. I never knew why we called her that. When her real name was Karen. Turns out Candy was a prostitute and my uncle was her #1 customer. They later married and she kept the name Candy for some odd reason.
This is kind of messed up, but my parents told me my mom had a bad back because I pushed on her spine during birth. This was what I thought all my childhood. I think I was in my teens when my older brother told me my dad pushed my mom during an argument. And she fell and had to have surgery. I thought I ruined my mom's back my entire childhood, and those sons of bees let me believe it.